Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable with Demetria L. Lucas. Let me tell you how I am in misery this morning. Over the weekend, which I spent most of it working, I took Saturday off. We'll talk about that in a minute. I have some big projects coming up this week, especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning because that's kind of how busy I am right now. I got some good news. I went to the grocery store, which I'd been avoiding for about a week. I told you that mass murder, I was going to call it a situation, but it's more than that. The mass murder at the grocery store in Buffalo really affected me. My refrigerator was barren, and I just refused to go to the grocery store. I was like, every time I thought about going, I was like, I'm good, and ordered food. But ordering food every day is counterproductive to being in the gym every day. And I was like, I need this scale to move because, like I said, I got stuff coming up. So I finally went to the grocery store. And because I had something to celebrate, I got a bottle of Prosecco. So I get the bottle of Prosecco, come home, stick it in the freezer because I was like, I want to enjoy it sooner than later. Got distracted reading Viola Davis's book all day. I finally got the book. Been talking about this book for weeks now, and I'm going to do a quick review of it in a second. But got caught up reading the book because it's a lot, but it's hard to put down. So read the book all day. I mean, literally the entire thing. It's only 300 pages. And then after, got distracted doing something else. And then I went to bed. So I'm snuggled in my bed. I had just drifted off to sleep. And then there is this wild commotion. There's this big pop bang. And then there's the ice makes all this noise. I think somebody's coming into my apartment. I completely freak out. And then I realize oh shit, the champagne. So the bottle of champagne burst all in my freezer. And I end up cleaning out the whole freezer, which is full of glass and champagne slush, which I scooped up some of it with a spoon and ate it. It was wonderful. Not the part with the glass. Champagne slush it's like frosé. It's amazing. But I had to clean up the freezer in the middle of the night. I still ain't found the cork. I've checked the freezer 3 times. I still don't know where the cork is. It's in there somewhere. And the freezer ain't but so big, but it's in there somewhere. But it scared the living shit out of me. So cleaned everything up, got back into bed. All is right with the world. This morning, I'm walking around my apartment and I forget to put on my flip-flops. I have a small piece of glass. It's annoying. It's not harmful. It's not bleeding. But I have a small piece of glass in my foot that I can feel it. Again, it doesn't hurt, but I can feel it when I walk. And I was like, what the fuck? And I can't get it out. I'm going to have to tweeze this thing out like it's a splinter from back in the day. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. So now I'm sitting here with my left foot up in tiptoe to avoid applying any pressure to my heel. This is my life right now. I'm I got shit to do today, including this podcast that I was supposed to do yesterday. Womp womp. But no, I have a big project this week. I'm doing an event for HBO. I'm interviewing the cast of We Own This City, which is a newish. Actually, the finale airs on Monday. But it's a 6-part limited series on HBO about some corruption. I was going to say the corruption, but it's been more than one incident. But about some corruption in the Baltimore Police Department. On the surface, it's about rogue cops, but it's also about systemic dysfunction, systemic corruption. I don't even know if dysfunction and corruption fully cover it. It's not a one-off. It's a culture of it. But there were a couple officers who were especially terrible. I mean, robbing citizens, selling drugs, beating the shit out of people. This one guy had 50 complaints. The city had paid out at least $250,000 to settle civil suits. I mean, it was really, really bad. But he was on the force for years and everybody knew he was a dirty cop. There's also a list of officers who had been caught lying in court, and I believe on more than one occasion, but they were banned from testifying in court because they were proven to be untrustworthy, but they were still allowed to police. I'm the court has banned you because you are untrustworthy and unreliable, and yet you're still allowed to be on the streets? This one guy was under suspicion of committing such a terrible offense that they put him on, not administrative leave, they put him on suspension for 2 years with pay. I was like, you gave that man a vacation. He ain't got to go to work for 2 years, but still gets his check. That's called vacation. That's called good living. I'm doing nothing but earning a wage. Is that job still available? I would like that job. Let me get paid podcast wages and ain't got to do no podcast twice a week. Girl, living. You see my ass in more than Ghana. I be in Ghana, Indonesia, Bora Bora. You would see my ass everywhere. Literally my ass. I'd be in a bathing suit on the beach. You would see my ass. See some ass everywhere. So I'm interviewing some members of the cast and production tomorrow in LA. I would invite you, but it's an invite only event. It's the executive producer and I think 4 cast members, the director, and then 3 members of the production team. And I mentioned that this show, and it's based on a true story, takes place in Baltimore. The show is created by the same people that did The Wire, David Simon and George Pelecanos. I think George Pelecanos, I'm like kind of obsessed with him. George Pelecanos is to The Wire what Walter Mosley is to Snowfall. Technically, George Pelecanos had the job first because The Wire, somebody pointed out to me the other day that The Wire went off, or at least from the original airing for 15 years. And I was like, really? I would have told you it hasn't been more than 5 years. But lo and behold, this is an aside. We're going to get to the point. I was watching the episodes the other day and several people who were in The Wire, I mean, when I say several, I mean like 12, who were in The Wire are also in this show. One of them being Jamie Hector, who played Marlo. We see him a lot. He's a regularly working actor. He plays a police detective. He plays essentially like a not drunk version of Bunk in this series. But there's an interaction between, and I've watched the series 2 times, but there's an interaction between Marlo and this cop. Nice looking guy. I noticed he was attractive the first time I watched it. And the second time I watched, I was doing something else. And I was like listening to the pace of the show. That's the screenwriting thing. I just listen to TV shows for the dialogue sometimes. And I recognized the tone and cadence of the voice. And it took me a minute to place it. And I was like, Dookie? Daquan? Looked up. I was like, oh my God, the really attractive guy on my screen who was, looked like he was in his early 30s was Dookie. Remember the little boy with the afro from the 4th season of The Wire, the one that was about the kids, the one who was homeless? The last time we saw him, he was getting high down to the stables. Broke my heart. He grew up to be a gorgeous young man. He's got to be like 30, 31 now. And I was like, oh, Dookie. I didn't realize how attached I was to the characters in The Wire until I sat there and almost cried that the actor on The Wire who was getting paid for a job, a good actor, because in my head, I really believe this child was on heroin, homeless, and living in the stables. That's the emotional reaction I had to seeing him. And I was like, oh my God, it's Dookie. He turned out fine. He turned out okay. Really nice looking guy. I posted a picture of him in my stories and everybody was like, that's Dookie? Who knew? But he's in it. Like I said, Marlo's in it. Poop from The Wire, he's in it. Marla Daniels, remember she was the wife of the detective. I think she was running for city council. She's in it. I didn't recognize her first either. I recognized her voice. A couple of the police officers are in it. I had this whole list. Donut, remember the little boy? He was cute as hell. He had cornrows. Really, really cute kid. He used to steal all the cars and go joyriding. He's in it. There's a ton of people in it. But I say all that to say that the show films in Baltimore and they like to obviously bring in actors that they've worked with before. Oh, an important one. He's a really big deal in this show. He was in The Wire. I don't remember him from The Wire. I remember him as Rolla on Power. And then he was also Bobby Rush, who's a friend of my dad. I used to know his daughter back in the day. We just like drifted in different directions. Really sweet woman. Congressman Bobby Rush, who before he was a congressman was an active and well-known Black Panther. But the actor who played both Bobby Rush and Rolla is also in this story. Remember I was talking about the corrupt cop who got suspended for 2 years? Rolla plays him. I do not remember him from The Wire. Apparently he used to work with Marlo. Oh, and Savino is in this too. I didn't recognize Savino yet. But like I said, there's a ton of people. That's not the point. The point is the show films in the community. They went back and found a lot of actors who worked on The Wire. And then they also work in the community and hired people from the community to work on the show in front of the camera and behind the camera. So we're having a conversation as much about the show as in working with the community for the show and creating a model for how shows that film on location, how they can incorporate the community. Like, don't show up and just, exploit the community for background, but how can you incorporate folks? So that's what I've been researching. So I've been watching the show. I've watched every episode 2 or 3 times at this point, and then also listening to the podcast. The podcast is as good as the show. One of the writers from the show, Black dude, who was handpicked by David Simon to work on the show, he does the podcast, and he's really, really good. What is his name? It's D. He's also a New York Times bestseller. I was like, how do I not know you? We Own This City podcast. D. Watkins, that's his name. I really enjoy the podcast, like I said, as much as the show. Like, I done ordered books for the show. I'm obsessed with David Simon and George Pelecanos. Even if I wasn't doing this HBO event, I would be having the same level of obsession that I'm experiencing right now. I do this with all of their projects. I did this with The Corner. I did this with Treme. There was another one. What was the other one? Was it The Deuce? Actually, I didn't really get into The Deuce like that. But The Corner and Treme, I was like, I need to know every single thing about this project. But I say all that to say, I've been immersed in preparing for this panel because it's 8 people and it's in front of a bunch of HBO executives. So I was like, let me not fuck this up. What else is on the table? Oh, I told you I read the Viola book. I was obsessed with getting my hands on that book. It came out right after I went to Ghana and I wasn't able to get an advanced copy. I called over to the publisher and they were like, oh, we can send one. But I was getting on a plane the next day and I was like, it's fine. Totally didn't mind supporting the Viola. It's a, how do I want to say this? It's a read. It's not a bad read. I thought it was a well-written book. You can hear it in my voice, right? My concern isn't in how it's written. It might be in the stories that are told and how it was edited. I was excited for this book to come out. I think I mentioned it several months ago that, Viola Davis has this book coming out. And I really enjoy Viola Davis, even despite, the misstep. And we talked about this 50 million times, so I'm not going to belabor it with her playing Michelle Obama. Leave it at that. But I still very much deeply admire her as an actress. And I said prior, even when we were talking about the Michelle Obama situation, I was like, I appreciate that, she has good sense. And when she gets in front of a microphone, she uses it for a purpose and doesn't say dumb shit. So I was really excited to read her book. I'd watched the Oprah interview because we talked about that. That was on Netflix. I enjoyed that. Viola's book is 300 pages long. Literally, the first 100 pages are about her upbringing. I want to say everything up until she graduates high school. There were some good times. From what she's describing, it was few and far between. On the Oprah interview, she discussed growing up in extreme poverty. She talked about sexual abuse in her home. She talked about physical abuse. So I knew going into the book that those were going to be topics that were explored. I didn't realize that it was going to go into extensive, nearly traumatizing detail for 100 pages. She mentioned wetting the bed until she was 14, the rats in her apartment, and the way her father used to beat her mother 50 times. At least 20 stories about her father beating her mother. And when I say beat her mother, I mean hit her with wooden objects, purposefully, intentionally trying to break her mother's legs, or hitting her so hard that she fell on the floor and or her face split open. Her mother having to run out of the house because she truly believed her husband was trying to kill her, and then always came back because she was raised that you keep your family together. I was like, in this life or the next, because we could both die today, but you ain't just gonna kill me. So there's that. The rats were pervasive in her home. She mentioned those rats literally 50 times. I didn't go through and count. At least 50 times she mentioned those rats. The sexual abuse, a lot of it was random. There's one incident she describes, the culture of it, old men being like, oh, I'll give you 25 cents, if you give me a kiss. There's an incident with one of her sisters at a grocery store. This man would go up and down the aisles, see little girls, and feel them up. But it happens to her sister, and then her mother hears about it and makes a big, big stink about it, as she should. And the owner of the store where the little girl got felt up, and he's trying to calm the mother down, and he was like, hey, bring it down to a 10. Like, he didn't single her out. He does that to everyone. Nigga, what? She also talks about incidents of incest. She and all her sisters were abused by a family member, and Viola just sort of like rolls it out like very casually, like, oh yeah, like, you know, and my brother. Wait, what? But literally, like, the first 100 pages are told in vivid and excruciating detail about all the abuse that she grew up with. And it got to the point where I felt uncomfortable. Remember that movie that Lena Waithe did about the black family? And she was only the executive producer. She didn't write it, but she was attached to the project, and she was probably the most famous person on the project. It came out on Amazon. Them, I think it was called. But a black family in Chicago, I believe, moves to the white suburbs. And it was a horror film. But the white folks tortured the complete fuck out of that black family. There was one particular scene that was horrifically tragic, and a lot of people lashed onto and was like, you've crossed from horror into trauma porn to the point that it's like you just are torturing these black people and triggering your audience just for the sake of a reaction. I kind of got that feeling somewhere around like page 50 reading Viola's book. She just kept going on and on and on and on. And I was like, yes, like, this is your story and you deserve to tell it. I kind of felt like you're not just telling me for the sake of informing me. You're telling me to trigger something in me. But I was like, did a black person edit this? I don't think you have to tell every single incident that happened to you, or even the majority of them, to make the point that, like, there was abuse in my home and this shaped my childhood, this shaped my perspective. But it was just like story after story after story. And I was like, are you trying to like titillate me with this? Like, are you trying to present like this is a part of black life? Like, I don't know. I just got very, very uncomfortable reading it. Once I got through the first 100 pages and she goes, you know, out into the world, she goes to undergrad and then she gets into Juilliard and then, you know, she's a working actress. Then it gets more, I don't want to say better. It's more of what I was expecting from her book. And all of her story is still colored with the trauma that she grew up in. She's very clear that she's the family member that got out. She has several brothers and sisters. I think one or two of the other ones were able to like make something of themselves as well. But her parents were still living essentially in poverty. And some of her other family members also didn't have a lot of money, needed a lot of help, and they relied on her. She talks about like, you know, being away at college, and then like her mother and sisters show up and was like, yeah, like dad beat mommy again and we didn't have anywhere else to go. So now we're popping up here at your dorm. She was like, you know, yeah, like physically I got out of the environment, but my family didn't. So emotionally and financially, I'm still tied. So she talks about like the struggle being the one that made it out. But do you really get out if everyone that you love and care about is still in? So yeah, so she's got stories of being this working actress, making decent money and having her own place, but because she still had to care for her family and look out for her family. And then she would, you know, go back to her parents' house and literally sleep on the floor. That house didn't have rats, I hope. But yeah, but she just talks about like going through life and the triggers that she would experience from how she grew up and how it all stays with her. So she does talk at one point about going to therapy, which I was like, thank you, God. Therapy is a process. It's not like you go to therapy and then you're immediately healed and then everything is fine and dandy after that. But reading her book, I was like, more therapy, more. Just have more. You just may need to stay in therapy. I'm not making any judgments, but I was like, it read as, to be frank, it read as emotionally vomit and unhealed. I was like, she might have wanted to wait another like 5 years, 10 years before she wrote this book. Like, we get 100 pages about trauma porn, abuse, and then she just sort of glosses over like, yeah, and I got an Oscar. I don't even think she specifically says it. Like, she talks about her role in Fences and then says, yeah, and for that I won an Oscar and blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't really talk about like in any depth, like being nominated, going to the Oscars, like the feeling of being acknowledged. All the things that you would expect from a Hollywood memoir are not there. It's not a tragedy because she didn't succumb to it. She seems to have built herself a very nice life. But I was like, you deserve it, sis. The shit you've been through, you deserve it. You know what it reminded me of? Do you remember this book back in the day called Random Family? But this reporter followed this family for like 15, 20 years. And she followed a couple generations of the family. It was a Puerto Rican family living in the Bronx. She was talking about the effect of poverty. It infects every aspect of your life. Like every decision you make is related to your resources or lack thereof. But that's what Viola Davis's book reminded me of. It was a singular Black woman's story about growing up in poverty. But the way she talked about it very much reminded me of Random Family. If you've never read Random Family, please do. I read it when it first came out. That book's got to be minimum 15 years old, probably closer to 20. It kind of reads as trauma porny too. That book will break your heart. But it gave me a whole different perspective on life, and it made me a way more compassionate person for people and their decisions. If you've never read that book, I actually highly recommend it. The Viola book, you got to be in the mood for. I was just really excited about the book, so I was like, well, let me commit and dig in. And I just kept thinking that, like, okay, like this going to end now. We're going to move on. Nope, we're not going to move on. We're going to get another story about your mama getting her head bashed in. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. For a very long time, shaving was one of my least favorite things to do. I have nicked up my poor legs so bad. That was until I found the razor kit from Athena Club. It solved all my shaving problems and exceeded my expectations. The magic starts with the Athena Club razor blades. They're surrounded by a water-activated serum with shea butter and hyaluronic acid. So you get a silky smooth shave that actually leaves the skin soft and hydrated, not stripped dry. And the blades are spaced out to let the hair and shave cream pass through easily. So you don't have to take a ton of passes over your skin to remove hair. Fewer passes means less irritation to your skin, cutting down on razor burn and ingrown hairs. The razor kit is only $9 with free shipping and comes with 2 blade cartridges, a magnetic hook for shower storage, and your choice of handle color. I've got a black one to match my black and white bathroom, but they have a bunch of colors to choose from chic black and white to neon and pastel. And you'll never have to worry about dull blades because you'll get refills sent on your schedule. Just choose how often you need fresh blades, and Athena Club will send them automatically with free shipping. So you always have the best blades for the best shave. I would also suggest getting their Cloud Shave Foam too. It's insanely thick and actually stays on while you shave, so you don't have to constantly reapply. Plus, it leaves your skin nourished and moisturized. It's seriously amazing. Why deal with razor burn and wasteful disposable razors when you could be getting the best shave of your life with the Athena Club Razor Kit? Get 20% off your first order at athenaclub.com with promo code RATCHET. That's ATHENACLUB.com with promo code RATCHET for 20% off. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Life can be overwhelming, and many people are burnt out without even knowing it. Symptoms can include lack of motivation, feeling helpless or trapped, detachment, fatigue, and more. I think everyone I know is experiencing one of those. That's scary. We associate burnout with work, but that's not the only cause. Any of our roles in life can lead to us feeling burnt out, and BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself. Talking with someone can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life. I think anyone who can relate to the feelings I just described, therapy is a good starting point for us. Not just you, me too. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. My favorite part is that it's not only more convenient, but more affordable than in-person therapy. And you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Ratchet and Respectable listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/ratchet. That's BETTERHELP.com/ratchet. What else did I do this weekend? I saw the finale for This Is Us. It comes on tonight. I was able to get my hands on a screener. I will give you no reviews. Nothing. I just saw it, and you should watch it, and it comes on tonight. They did something weird to Randall's makeup. And I thought that last week. It's like they made Randall like too dark or too old or something. Kevin is looking very like sexy zaddy. And Randall, Sterling K. Brown, I think is a very attractive man. The older Randall, they're not doing right by him. Something weird. And then I was trying to think, and I was like, do black people get darker as they get older? Like, is this a thing? I know there are folks who do heavy drugs. They can alter your complexion. Or maybe certain diseases, like your skin can appear darker because of the medicines you're taking or the disease that's affecting your body. But I was like, did we talk about Randall having that? Why is Randall so dark? And then I was like, maybe I'm just overthinking it and like they fucked up the makeup. Maybe it's just that simple. They used makeup that was too dark. Better to go too dark than too light, because then you look ashy. But then he just also like, it's just not like the right color. I was like, is it the lighting? But I saw it and you should watch it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow on Instagram. Also, I'm shocked that we got this far in the episode. I meant to mention this at the very top. I have put my entire website, or the merchandise for Ratchet and Respectable and Don't Waste Your Pretty, the entire thing is on sale, up to 50% off. Everything must go. It's a moving sale. The countdown for my move to Ghana has begun, and I'm not taking anything that's still in my warehouse with me to Ghana. I'm clearing out the whole thing. So the merch is on sale, up to 50% off. I mean, everything. We sold out the last of the feminist hips and ratchet hips yesterday. I think there's only 2 black and gold tees left. There's some Don't Waste Your Pretty tees. Interested men act interested. Cut the check. The gold and white Ratchet and Respectable tees. The green and white Ratchet and Respectable tees. All of that is there. The sweatshirts I've knocked down, and I mean all of them. I think they're between 20 and 40 now. I mean, I put everything on sale. The coffee mugs for Don't Waste Your Pretty, I think those are $10 now. This is the big sale. Go on and get you some merch. So it's at demetriallucas.com. So also over the weekend, because I told you I had a bunch of stuff to do, I finalized my logistics for Ghana. I know the date that I'm leaving. I have a flight. I'm leaving from DC, but it's all coming together slowly but surely. And I've got a bunch of stuff to do and places to visit and people to see. My cousin is down in Mexico. She refuses to come back to LA. So she was like, I have to see you before you go. And I was like, well, I'm in LA. And so she was like, and planes go to Mexico. So I'm trying to get down to Mexico to see her. I've got ABFF next month in Miami. I may or may not go to Essence Festival. I only go down to Essence when I have to work, but I haven't been booked yet. So I don't know if I'm going. I want to go. I don't know how I'm going to fit this in, moving all my stuff cross country to store in DC, but we're going to figure it out one way or another. We always do. So there's a lot of stuff on the table that I just need to, put into place. But I got the ticket and the apartment is paid for already. So it's happening. I'm excited. I'm also nervous as shit, but it's happening. There was this really great documentary on Ghana that aired on documentary show. Let's call it a show. But it aired on CNN, part of the original programming. What is this guy's name? Somebody told me about it on Twitter. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about it. Carlton McCoy. He is a sommelier. He is based out of DC. I had never heard his name before, but somebody tagged me in a tweet giving me a heads up that this show was coming out on Sunday night. But Carlton McCoy is light-skinned brother from DC. At some point in the documentary, he talks about people, he says, quote, who are black like me, who go to Ghana, seeking their ancestral roots. And I was like, bruh, I'm glad you said something because I ain't know. DC has a lot of light-skinned Negroes that technically could pass. It's a thing. It's kind of like New Orleans in that way. But I was like, bruh, I'm glad you said something because I didn't know. I was like, I wasn't picking up the bass in your voice. I really didn't know. Could have gone either way. But black man, who it seems he in no way is trying to be Anthony Bourdain. God, I miss that man. I miss Anthony Bourdain like I fucking knew him. Whole nother story. But this guy, Carlton, specifically for this episode, because I ain't watched none of his other shows yet, but for this one, it's a very similar tone and pacing that Bourdain used to do. But he goes into Ghana and he's eating, lots of eating. But I was like, sir, like you're a wine expert. Like, where's all the wine? But he goes and he has meals with different people and he talks about culture and politics and art and all of those things. So it's very Bourdainish in that way. He just doesn't have Bourdain's personality. And it's a new show for him. So I feel like he needs to, just warm up and get a little comfy. If you go back and watch early videos of Anthony Bourdain, he is not the Bourdain that we came to know and love in later years. Like, he was just awkward. He hadn't found his pacing yet. Of Carlton. So I'm not going to make too many criticisms of Carlton. It's a new show. He's finding himself, but he's covering good stuff. And his approach to Ghana was that in 10 years, it will be the creative capital of the world. Why Ghana is working so well and why it's like, sort of this model country in West Africa. And I say model country also, I say model country and also just need to acknowledge, like, Ghana is not perfect. Ghana has its problems. If you're following Ghana, particularly Accra in the news right now, they are in the middle of rainy season and they do not have the best sewer infrastructure, and there's a ton of flooding. You know how sometimes you see videos of New York City after a heavy rain and there's like flooding all in the streets and flooding all in the subways? That's what some parts of Accra look like right now. Like, it's crazy. There are parts of Accra that are underwater. We've also seen flooding like this in the States, in Houston. We've seen it in Miami. So I say that to say that, the city of Accra is flooding like some major American cities. It's time to ditch the chemicals with Caraway Home's non-toxic cookware and bakeware collections, so you can make healthier cooking a piece of cake. Caraway Home's non-toxic kitchenwares are all designed for the modern home and feature a chemical-free ceramic coating, so food can be prepared with peace of mind that no hard-to-pronounce compound will leach into your healthy ingredients. All sets come equipped with easy access storage solutions so that no stacking is required. And gone are the days of misplacing your lids. That's also for me, like my sets be missing like your socks. The cookware set is a modern and chemical-free iteration of the traditional 16-piece set. It's boiled down to just 4 essentials. That's why it takes up so little space, which I love. And then the bakeware set. It's an assortment of non-toxic baking essentials that every modern kitchen needs, so you can get to baking goods without any of the bad. Over 25,000 people have raved about their Caraway kitchen set, including me, so now it's time to try it for yourself. Visit carawayhome.com/ratchet to take advantage of this limited time offer for 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so visit carawayhome.com/ratchet or use code RATCHET at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern. It can be so hard to work out sometimes with so much going on and so much to do. Getting to the gym is not always easy, which is why I appreciate Peloton. I can get a good workout and work up a great sweat at a boxing class at home. Peloton has a team of world-class instructors ready to motivate you 24/7. Peloton instructors are highly trained fitness pros who motivate you through every workout, whether you're a regular at the gym or someone who is new or getting back into working out. Whatever your fitness level, Peloton instructors don't just teach, they motivate. Peloton has thousands of live and on-demand classes, so you can always keep it fresh. From cycling and strength training to yoga and running, experiment with new types of movement, judgment-free at a level and pace that feels good for you. Right now is the perfect time to try out Peloton. The Peloton Bike Plus is now $500 less, its best price yet, including free delivery and setup. And there are more game-changing prices available on the original Peloton bike and Peloton tread. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. Who else does that? I do that all the time. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. Because companies make subscription hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your account and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Truebill has saved me so much money. You know, I subscribe to so many streamer networks, but so many of them just have one good show. My show goes off, I don't need them anymore. Truebill makes sure that I'm not paying for streaming services that I don't use. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/ratchet. Go right now. Truebill.com/ratchet. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/ratchet. So he talks about, democracy and fair elections in Ghana have led to political stability. He talks about, the history of Ghana, the first West African nation to get free from colonialism, 1957. He talks about the creativity. He talks about the Black professionals. They just refer to themselves as professionals because everybody's Black. But he talks a lot about how an informal tradition in Ghana is that you send your kids abroad to be educated and to have quote unquote a better life. But a lot of those children are coming back as adults because Ghana is a better option for them. They're like, I've gone out in the world, I've looked around, I've seen, and I want to be home, and I want to bring the best of what I've seen out in the world to my home. He talks about journalism in Ghana. They do have freedom of speech. He talked to a bunch of, I wouldn't say rogue journalists. I would just say journalists who get up in everybody's business, and not tabloids. I mean like political type business. It's like exposing corruption. And you can imagine they're not everybody's favorite. So they're like a secret society of journalists. But it was a really good special. And Davida and I were watching it separate but together. We were on a chat and we thought it was really well done. And I specifically mentioned Davida because I like Ghana as a guest. But, Davida's from Ghana, so she has a different perspective. But she thought it was well done as well. Also, he explored a lot of different places in Ghana. Like when I go, I hang out in Accra, but it's also like going to New York and only seeing New York City. There's so much more to Ghana than just the capital city. So I was like, look at this land. I'm turning into an old Black person from the South specifically. Old Black people love to talk about the beauty of some land. It's beautiful land. So I was like, yeah, there's some places in Ghana, a bunch of places that I need to go see. I can't wait to move. I'm just ready for what's next. I had the same feeling when I was in New York and thinking about moving to DC, and then in DC thinking about moving to LA. Like there's just been a mind shift. It's like I'm ready for the next big thing. Speaking of Ghana, Davida and I also had like a wonderful conversation, and we talked about it before. The documentary came out. We actually talked about it several times, but on Sunday we actually decided let's pull the trigger on this. Every time I go to Ghana and I'm posting hashtag see some Ghana, hashtag see some world, people are like, you should do a Ghana trip. You should do a Ghana trip. You should do a Ghana trip. And Davida was like, yo, we should just do a Ghana trip. So we decided we were going to do like a Demi and Davida do Ghana type trip. So the trips that I'm usually on, and I specifically use that language because those are her trips. I'm just often there. Sometimes I host them. But we're doing a collab trip, so a curated version of Ghana. So if the Ghana that I share when I'm traveling that you've seen in the hashtags over the last few years, that version of the trip. So I'm curating my favorite places, my favorite things to do in Ghana, and we're putting a trip together. And it's going to happen around Thanksgiving of this year. So stay tuned for that information. So right now we're figuring out all the logistics and we'll make sure we can get everybody in the good hotels and the good restaurants and then book the good activities. So we're pulling all that together. We had a whole conversation about my dream list and how to make it happen for a group. Traveling as a solo person versus traveling with, a group of people is much different. But we're going to make it happen. We're going to work it out. I told you I've been up to something. People are like, you've been quiet lately. I have been because I'm working on some shit. What else do I have in my notes today? Oh, we didn't do good Black news at the top of the episode. And I specifically wanted to mention two big things. Aisha Hines, actress Aisha Hines. She's a sweetheart. I met her at Essence Black Women in Hollywood a few years ago. She was on Underground at the time. She's currently on Reno 911. She's been on that for a few years. So she's making network check. But at the time, she was doing Underground. And if you remember Underground, it was Misha Green's show. I don't know if it was her first show. It was Misha Green's really big show. That's when I learned who she was. Misha Green, who did Lovecraft Country. Before that, she had a show called Underground that was about some enslaved black folks on a plantation. A bunch of them ran away, and then like a bunch of them stayed. And Aisha played Harriet Tubman on the show. There was one particular episode that if you've never seen, it's one of the best episodes of TV ever. But Aisha Hines, playing Harriet Tubman, sat in front of a room and gave a monologue about Harriet Tubman's life for about an hour. And it was amazing, riveting television. And that's when I looked her up on Instagram and was like, who is this woman? Amazing actress. She also dresses her ass off and stunts. She's one of my favorite Instagram follows. You know how I always talk about like Margie Harvey, or like Margie will give us a moment. And then like the hotelier in Ghana, we talk about him. The one that has like the baby tigers and like the amazing Instagram. We talked about him, right? Freedom Jacob Caesar. We talked about what JC means too. The Christ-like figures. He's one of those. I'll tell you another day about his baby tiger incident. He has these baby tigers that he takes pictures with all the time. I thought they were stuffed. There's been an incident with the tigers. It's been resolved. That's neither here nor there. He has an amazing Instagram. Like, he gives you Zamunda. He gives you Idi Amin. He loves to dress up like a dictator. It's lots of theatrics, and he be like Louis, Gucci, Dior down. It's a fabulous watch. I put Aisha's Instagram on that level. Madame just got married to the love of her life. They got married in Grenada recently. The level of fashion. Andre Leon Talley would have been so proud. Ma'am, her husband, and all of their friends have stunted upon us. Like, it's fabulous. Remember Solange's wedding pics? It was Solange and Mama Tina and cousin Angie and Sister Kelly. Everybody all standing in formation, and everybody was like, oh my God, this is nuts. This is crazy. It's unbelievable. It's so God. We all went crazy. It's like that kind of shit. I don't think I want to get married again. I just want to have really dope photos in an event. I just need to write another book or get this show sold. Maybe I'll do it for like the 4-year anniversary of this podcast. I was like, I just need an event. I just want to get all dressed up and stunt real hard. But ma'am does have an event. She has a life celebration. Congratulations to her and her husband on their marriage, not their wedding, on their marriage. The wedding is a day or a weekend in some people's cases. That means you, Aisha. But the marriage is for life. So congratulations to them. Last but not least, I got a call from my dad yesterday. He's so funny. He was telling me about all this tea, all this DC tea about people half his age. And I was like, how you know all this? Old black man, how do you know all this tea? And he was like, people be talking, I be listening. Sir. He was talking about Symone Sanders. Symone is a friend. So when I was living in DC, actually might have started before I moved. My dad, he's like the community dad. Everybody in DC, in political circles, black political circles, knows my dad. And I'm known not as, Demetria, the, 50 million professional things that I do. I'm known as Larry's daughter. And my friends, we've never had a conversation about this, but everyone started doing it. They treat my dad like Where's Waldo? Any of my friends in DC, when they run into my father, they'll take a selfie and then text it to me. It's been this ongoing game for like 4 or 5 years. Symone ran into my dad. She's taking selfies with my dad and sent them to me. So my dad is like, Symone is my friend. He's like, our friend Symone. She was like, she got a new show. You been watching Symone on NBC? She's on MSNBC. Symone Sanders. We were first introduced to her as the spokesperson for Bernie Sanders. And then she moved on to the Biden campaign. And then she was working in the Biden White House. I think she was working under Kamala Harris. She was also, on CNN for a while. So, everybody got to know Symone. But Symone left the White House, I guess earlier this year or late last year. And now she has her own show on MSNBC. I think it's been out for a couple of weeks. I told you I don't watch news. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch NBC. So it's nothing personal why I haven't seen the show. I just prefer to read my news or listen to my news. So I haven't seen the show yet, but I'm going to have to make a point to because, Symone is on it. I listened to a podcast interview that she did the other day. I can't remember who it was with, but it was really good. She has great opinions. I like the way that she thinks. But her talk show is called Symone. her debut episode, she interviewed First Lady Jill Biden. But she's very, very clear that her show will not be used as pro-Biden propaganda. I'm reading here, she did an interview for The Hill. She said, quote, "I'm not here to be a spokesperson for the Biden administration. I had that job already." Talk your shit, Symone. She goes on to say, she says, "I'm going to be honest, and sometimes the honesty means that what I have to say is not what the administration would have to say. And that's fine because it's my show." Her words, emphasis mine. But she says that her show, it comes on Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m. She says it's going to cover a variety of topics from Congress to pop culture and stories, quote, beyond the Beltway. She describes it as, we're going to do today's headlines, but we're going to go deeper. We're going to get into the weeds. So congratulations to Symone on her new show. She's going to make me turn on the TV and watch her on MSNBC, but I'm happy to support. So that is our backwards version of this episode. Thank you for listening. Again, if you haven't picked up your Ratchet and Respectable merch, or you have and you want some more, it's up to 50% off on demetriallucas.com. I would encourage you to go and grab your stuff sooner than later. Okay, we will talk again on Friday. I'll bring you up to speed on this big HBO event that's happening tomorrow. I'm about to go edit and go back to prepping. Okay, bye.